Well, the administration here calls this sanctions package major, massive, crushing. It's the biggest tranche since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine 2 years ago. President Biden saying the US and Western partners must ensure that Russia and its President Vladimir Putin, quote, pay the price for death and destruction.
And Putin believed he could easily bend the will and break the resolve of the free people of Ukraine. That he could roll into Ukraine and he would roll over them. 2 years later, he remains wrong.
The vast majority of these measures designed to impede Russia's war effort further, impose restrictions to close existing gaps in the sanctions regime that Russia's been able to evade so far. That could well mean penalising other countries or entities that are exporting equipment to Russia or those that are still funding its major energy sector. And these sanctions also target the state-owned operator of Russia's main payment system, as well as private companies involved in Russia's defense industry. The idea is to hit Russia's economy hard, but this is an economy that's already the most sanctioned in the world, and in spite of that, it remains larger than it did before the invasion in February 2022. Included in these sanctions also a set targeting individuals connected to Alexei Navalny's imprisonment and death last week. These, the White House says, will help ensure Putin pays an even steeper price for his aggression abroad in regard to Ukraine and repression at home in relation to the treatment of Putin critics like Alexei Navalny. Both of these exemplifying what the US State Department calls Putin's brazen disregard for human life. And essentially, Biden's overarching message to the US, to the world, is that history is watching, that the failure to support Ukraine, to stand up to freedom, he says, will not be forgotten. In accordance with that, he today urged lawmakers stateside to pass a bill that stalled in Congress, but if it's approved, would provide tens of billions of dollars worth of aid to the war-torn nation. Benji Hyatt for CBC News, Washington.
This anniversary comes just after Ukraine suffered a major loss on the battlefield. Its troops forced to withdraw from an eastern town. Margaret Evans is in Kyiv tonight. And Margaret, how is that affecting the mood there?
That's right, Ian. Avdiivka, of course, is in eastern Ukraine, and it was a hard-fought battle, high cost for the Ukrainians, and 2 years into a war that looks set to go even longer. This loss seemed to cement that in people's minds, a fear that this is going to go on. The Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, said that the reason they lost this town was because they don't have the hardware they need. They don't have the ammunition that they need to take it. And I think that's really solidifying fears for many people here when they talk about the sense of an erosion of support for Ukraine amongst their allies as they wait for more military aid to arrive. And the sense that that front line they have, they're having to move into defensive positions. They don't have the ammunition they need to move forward. And that's, of course, what's led to this sense of the failed counteroffensive of the fall.
So in terms of Ukraine's allies, on the heels of another major loss, do you think that the allies will increase their support?
That's certainly going to be the hope here. I mean, you know, this weekend is going to be one full of reflection on the anniversary, and people will be looking or hearing a lot of speeches from Ukraine's allies, repeating promises of support. And I think people want to see, they want to see real action begin now. We are hearing of these security pacts that are coming through with a number of countries, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, today the Netherlands. These are assurances, 10-year plans of military aid and support for Ukraine. So that could be a sign of Ukraine's allies taking very seriously this frozen front line and the very real possibility that seems to be dawning for people that Russia might win the war and what that might mean for the rest of the world, not just for Ukraine.
Margaret Evans reporting from Kyiv tonight.